Good afternoon, and thank you so much for coming. This is a particularly special event, and it's great to see so many familiar friends and faces out there, and we really appreciate you coming to this special event. I always say that I think the law school lives on both best through its alumni, and so it's a particular privilege to be able to have an event like this today where we recognize some real true friends and alumni of the law school who've done so much for us as a school and also for our students. This is also a particularly nice event because one of the heart of the law school, something that we are particularly proud of, is our global connections, and that we believe that preparing students for the future requires that they not only understand something about U.S. law and legal systems, but also they understand a little more about the world around them. And the Stewart Fellows program has been the cornerstone of that commitment to making sure that our American law students understand a little bit about the world around them. I'm going to keep my remarks incredibly short, and so at this point, it's my pleasure to introduce the person who really had the vision way back in 2008 to start this program, who under her leadership hired the faculty that made the center work and put together the program, who had the forethought and the vision to connect with Milt and Judi Stewart. And so it's my pleasure at this time to introduce the Executive Vice President and Provost, the former Dean of the Law School, Lauren Robel.
Well, we'll talk about whose vision this was, but I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be home and to be with my family at the law school, and to have an opportunity to celebrate with all of you the Stewart Center on the global legal profession. I'd love to be able to say that out loud. This is a joyous day for Malware and for the whole university. We have, with the Stewarts, a kind of generosity and enduring friendship that is rare and beautiful. Milt and Judi have always lived by an ethic of care and friendship, and by their example, they teach that the best universities forge bonds of friendship and community that last a lifetime. I've always said about Milt that he is a genius at relationships, and his discussions with our law students have always focused around the importance of those relationships. And this is just proof of the importance of relationships to the way in which we work. From their involvement with the IU Foundation and the Eskenazi Museum's Advisory Board, to their phenomenal generosity toward Malware, Milt and Judi embody the spirit that makes IU not only a world-class university, but also a strong and deep community and a source of great pride for us all. Now, when I was dean, there were a few alumni I counted among my kitchen cabinet, and Milt led that group. His candor, heart, judgment, and absolute loyalty to the school and the university meant that time and again he was willing to give me advice and help and his best thinking. And I think about that group: Milt, Jack Kimberling, Mickey Maurer, Bob Cassing, Bill Hunt, Tom Lofton, the people I turn to again and again. They were the leaders of a team that built broader alumni engagement at this school, a very deep, broad network of alumni. And they really personified the concept of the trusted advisor. Milt and Judi, we are so grateful for all you've done to support Malware and the Center on the Global Legal Profession. In particular, I would like to thank you for the impact you've had on our students. You've given them opportunities that are beyond transformative and so empowering. I remember the first year of the Stewart Fellows, meeting a student who came off of the elevator, had just come back from Japan, and said, "This is why I came to IU. This is what I hoped I would be able to do." The Center on the Global Legal Profession was founded in 2009 during my tenure as dean, as Dean Parrish said. It's among the law school initiatives that I'm most proud of, and today I am just delighted that it will be known henceforth as the Milt and Judi Stewart Center on the Global Legal Profession. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, exactly the right name. The center promotes the inherent link between the profession and the advancement of free democratic societies and the rule of law around the world. And it underscores the importance of cooperation and collaboration among legal professionals and law students across diverse cultures. At a time when the constitutional and legal structures of some of the world's oldest democracies are under intense pressure, and when there are forces in our own country pulling away from the world, the work of the center could not be more important. The center's mission has 3 parts. First, to engage in research that advances knowledge about the global legal profession. Second, to provide students with opportunities for work in legal systems in other countries. And third, to build global partnerships with other law schools to enhance the impact of the profession throughout the world. Each piece of this mission is perfectly aligned with IU's mission as a public university. The center's global outlook reflects the international scope of education and research that has defined the Bloomington campus since at least the time and leadership of William Loeb Bryant, and which has been reinvigorated under the leadership of President Mcrobbie. For our students, the center offers vital insight into what it means to be a legal professional in an interconnected, globalized world. The center offers our students opportunities that they could not find elsewhere, including the chance to work with legal professionals all across the globe. Among the most significant opportunities is the one that is represented by the Stewart Fellowships. Since its founding in 2010, the Stewart Fellows program has funded more than 120 students to travel overseas to work with highly respected law firms, government agencies, and NGOs in a variety of countries where the center has built and maintained strong relationships and partnerships. These are life-changing experiences that not only position our students for successful careers, but also affirm their roles as global citizens prepared to harness their talents for positive change in the world. The program also has the added benefit of sending some of our best and brightest students out into the world as ambassadors for Indiana University. This year's cohort represents the success and overall excellence of the program. The 2017 Stewart Fellows are 23 of our most outstanding law students, and their positions reflect the diversity of the program. Stewart Fellows worked in 10 different countries this past summer: Argentina, Brazil, China, India, Japan, South Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, and for the first time this year, Cambodia. They work for law firms involved with international finance and trade, for NGOs focused on human rights, and in one case, for an Indian Supreme Court advocate. I know of no other law school program in not only the United States, but in the world that can offer such a diversity of compelling global experiences to young legal professionals. Milt and Judi's generosity truly transforms lives and permits our students to become different kinds of lawyers with global perspectives on how our legal systems are interconnected, the same, and different. It is impossible to state adequately how much this program shapes these young people. Thank you, Milt and Judi, for your vision, for your loyalty to the university and to the law school, and for your friendship over the years. It means the world to us, and it means the world to me. And now I'm pleased to introduce a video message from Professor William Henderson. Bill is the Stephen F. Burns Professor of Law in Mauer and the founding director of the Center on the Global Legal Profession.
Hello, Milt. Hello, Judi. I'm sorry I can't be there for the special occasion, the naming ceremony for the Milt and Judi Stewart Center on the Global Legal Profession. But I felt it important to relay a few stories from the founding of this institution. If we go back to 2009, Jay Krishnan had just joined the faculty. We're going over to India for some ceremonies related to the Jindal Global Law School that we're going to have a partnership with through Jay's connections, and Dean Robel is joining us. And it's my first exposure to the Indian legal profession, and I learned so much from this. Not so much about the Indian profession because it's steeped in history, but I'm learning more about I'm seeing my own profession through fresh eyes. And I can remember going out to a field on the outskirts of New Delhi, in Providence, just over the border, and looking at a field where some things were staked out to lay the foundations for a university. And so we literally traveled out there to see a field. Everybody believing it was going to be something special, and marveling at the network that Jay Krishna had in terms of the lawyers from every sector of the Indian legal profession respecting him and wanting to be involved in the things that Jay was doing. We came back from that trip, and I remember spending time with Dean Robel to say, Jay's network is incredible. It's possible to replicate the experience that I had, where you see your own profession, your own opportunities fresh because you're exposed to a different culture. We said it's possible to replicate that. Jay has a network. I'm sure we can make this happen, and it would be a completely unique experience in U.S. legal education. And Lauren Robel said, I know the perfect person to help out, and she drafted Milton Stewart to travel with us on another delegation. It was about 6 months later in the winter of 2010. And I can remember being on together in a series of quick car trips with Milt and Jay to meet with government officials, law firm officials, NGO officials, and from that trip we managed to pull back 6 sign on the dotted line internships that we were able to cobble together the financing to send students over there with full financial support and their travel covered. And we actually went back to the Jindal Global Law School, and in that 6 short months, we had seen it basically sprout out of the ground, and we were holding meetings there. It was absolutely extraordinary, and the students were going to be able to share in that experience. And so I really felt it was going to be a solid bet. Now, if we fast forward to today, and the occasion of naming the center, we've had 124 students go through this program. They're now in South America, they're in Asia, they're in other parts of the world. We've managed to give financial support for travel and lodging for all of these students. There's no other law school that comes close to this kind of experience for their students. We know students are coming here to Indiana University Medical School specifically to be Milton Stewart Fellows. I'm so proud to have been a tiny, tiny part in the creation of something that's so awesomely good. And thank you, Judi. Thank you, Milt, for your support of the university, for the law school. It's been extraordinary, and our best days are ahead in terms of the Center on the Global Legal Profession. Thank you so much for your support.
Well, thanks, Provost Robel and Professor Henderson. When we announced that today that we would be celebrating the naming of the center, the tribute to Milt and Judi, and the naming of the Stewart Professorship, we reached out to some of Milt's former colleagues. And Dave Baca, the managing partner of Davis, Wright, and Tremaine for 8 years, sent us the following note, and he asked me to read it. Dean Parrish, please allow me to add the firm's congratulations to Milt on this milestone. Milt practiced as a partner at Davis, Wright, Tremaine for the greater, and I think he would agree, most interesting portion of his career, and I was his partner the entire time. I can confirm the reports that Milt was an extraordinary corporate lawyer. He could negotiate, counsel, supervise, manage, and even draft as well as anyone. And his understanding of and care and empathy for his clients was unsurpassed. He was often at the cutting edge of the use of technology in the practice, even when it may not have been fashionable. Ask him about his first mobile phone, which did not fit in a pocket and was assuredly not smart. He has always been committed to the university, as you all know, and he is open to recruiting line to our Portland office, which has brought several of the most talented and promising lawyers west. This is a well-deserved honor, Milt, and let me add our thanks for all you have done for our firm, as well as for the profession. I think Judi gets at least an assist, though. Well done. My very best, Dave Baca. retired managing partner, Davis Wright and Tremaine. As we continue on in the celebration of the naming of the center, I would now like to introduce our Associate Dean for Research and Faculty Affairs, Professor Cristiano Ochoa. Professor Ochoa is a professor of law and the Charles L. Whistler Faculty Fellow. She's also the inaugural academic director of Indiana University's Mexico Gateway. Her scholarship focuses on the intersection of economic development and human rights, most recently in the form of an award-winning documentary about gold mining communities and environmental conservation in Colombia. At this time, please welcome Professor Ochoa.
Hi, good afternoon. This is so much fun. I love these events so much. Mary Ann Evans, who some of you might know better as George Eliot, when she wrote her Victorian novels between 1859 and 1876, became best known for the psychological insights that her novels had to offer to readers. This is one of the quotes that she had to offer. "It will never rain roses. If we want to have more roses, we have to plant more roses." So fundamentally, the notion of planting roses is the reason that I love working at Indiana University. Walking around this campus, you can see the effects of the vision and the leadership that President and Laura Mcrobbie have had on this campus in the form of structures and programs and centers like this one. And it's also true that it's what made me fall specifically in love with this law school. Some of you might know, if you know Provost Robel, that she's a gardener. And she has cared for this law school and cared for it as the dean of this law school like a gardener would, with vision and love and patience. And it's that vision and love and patience that really gave rise to the founding of this center. So many people have already said some of the things that the center has accomplished during the years that it has been in existence, and I know Jay is going to talk more about that as well. So rather than focus on the incredible accomplishments of the center, I want to tell you something about the center that if you don't know the center well, will be nice news to hear, and if you know the center well, will just be a reaffirmation of something you know, but might not always think about or articulate. I want to focus on the positivity that this center has always had at its core and that it always emanates, because it's that positivity that I think draws people to the center, whether those are our global partners or our students or the faculty that are associated with the center. Milt and Judi get much of the credit for this. Just today we had a lunch with last summer's Stewart Fellows, and as the students went around the room and introduced themselves and said where they had been and how it was that the fellowship last year changed or affected their lives, Milt had such incredible supporting words to say to so many of the students who introduced themselves. But that's not all they do. Milt and Judi, during the course of every year, share emails about the substance of the practice of law in so many of the places where our students have internships. But they also share emails when their students are placed abroad. Our students are asked to send memos home every week. And it's through those memos that we know that the students are getting good work experiences, that they're having good personal experiences. And Milt and Judi ask for those emails to be sent directly to them because they care about every one of the 23 students that are out there and care about knowing that they're having wonderful personal and professional experiences. And every once in a while, we'll get an email from Milt and from Judi that has a quote from a student who just had an incredible experience out there somewhere in the world. And that sharing of something that they picked up in the email so that we can revel and share together in the value of this program it's just so welcome. And that's not all they share. Every once in a while, those of us who know Milt and Judi well, will get a beautiful email of the wildlife or some wonderful picturesque scene on their property. And it's that they'll just share it because it's beautiful, right? For no other reason but to bring light to our day. And it's really a delight to have that kind of beauty at the center of this, of the Center on the Global Legal Profession, the Milt and Judi Stewart Center on the Global Legal Profession. And it's wonderful to have that kind of friendship in our chief supporters. And really, thank you for all of the support you give us, both today and all the way in the past. So now the center, as you know, has been named the Milt and Judi Center on the Global Legal Profession, and it is now under the directorship of Jay Krishnan, who, for those of you who know Jay Krishnan, know that I'm stating the obvious when I say that his positivity is absolutely contagious. The days that he's in the halls are markedly filled with more laughter on the second floor than the days that he's not in the halls. And for those of us who know Jay professionally, we know that it's not Jay's positivity alone that draws us to him, but also his unmatched professionalism, his seriousness as a scholar, and his drive to get more done in one day than most of us can accomplish in a week. I didn't know Milt when he was in practice, and I didn't know Judi when she was there with him, but the stories that I've heard make it clear why it is that they became so drawn to this center and why this partnership has formed. Their positivity, their ambition, and the vision that we all share for the world, for the students to get to know the world as they enter the global legal profession, has a very strong attractive pull. And thank goodness, because we rely on that pull every year when we're trying to attract students to come to Maurer, to be new students, to get involved with the center. And we rely on those students once they're here to apply to become Stewart Fellows. And that is not a small ask, because many of our students have never left Arkansas or Indiana or Michigan when they apply to go to India and China and Japan and Cambodia. And that if that's not radical optimism, I don't know what is. And every year that optimism brings amazing returns in the form of profound personal and professional experiences. And once they're back, it also brings return in the form of job offers, because their employers, the people who are interviewing them, are also drawn to that optimism. They're drawn to the experiences they have, but they're also drawn to people who are willing to pack their bags and go to get those experiences in amazing places. And I feel so privileged to be a part of that. And I really, really thank all of you for helping us have this center here at the law school. But I do want to inject one note of sobriety. The center feels grown up now. It has a name. And in receiving a well-earned professorship, Jay is receiving a very high honor in recognition of his valuable scholarship and work. But I really think that we're just getting started. In the big scheme of things, the center is still brand new. It'll continue to ambitiously pursue its research. It'll continue to foster valuable existing and new relationships with global partners, and it will continue to attract and nurture new students to engage in the global practice of law. In fact, today is a deadline for a new group for one part of the 2018 group of Stewart Fellows applications. And every year we can't wait to see who will be applying, because each year those applications feel not like roses falling from the sky, but like new roses being planted. So thank you both for allowing us to continue to plant those roses.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kylie Wood. I am a 2L here, and I was a Milton Stewart Fellow last summer. I want to start by thanking Laura Gose, Dean Davis, Professor Ochoa, Krishnan, and all other supervising professors for all of the work that you do throughout the year with students and with the placements. I would also like to thank Provost Robel, President Mcrobbie, and Dean Parrish for being supporters of this incredible program. And most importantly, I would like to thank Milt and Judi Stewart for making this incredible program, one that sends Maurer students all over the world, a possibility. Making the decision of which law school to attend was not an easy one for me. I was ultimately torn between two schools and sent an email to Dean Canada to discuss my dilemma. And in his response, he encouraged me to consider the value that I placed on a law degree, and he advised that I use a bit of a cost-benefit analysis when deciding between these two schools. And as I wrestled with that decision, I kept coming back to the Milton Stewart program, and it was ultimately the program that caused me to commit to IU Maurer. I came to school and applied for a placement in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I ended up at Wiener Soto Caparos, a boutique law firm that handles business law, international business law. I was there for about 8 weeks, It was an incredible experience, and I know no matter the description that I provide for you today, it will be highly inadequate. But I can say that looking back, the 8 weeks was a whirlwind, during which I learned more about the law, both American law and Argentine law. I grew both professionally and personally, and I gained an appreciation for another culture. But my first day on the job was not sunshine and roses. I had properly prepared to take the metro to get to work, but I did not account for the mass amounts of people that would be trying to get to work also. Nor could I have prepared for the flooding that occurred the night before that caused delays and packed train cars. So when I was finally able to push my way onto a train, I thought things were looking up until the metro stopped in the tunnel for what felt like hours. We finally reached my stop, and I was late. When I reached the office, I had run there. I was winded. I was sweaty. It was just, not the ideal morning. And of course, first thing they want to do when I arrive is introduce me to everyone. And they don't introduce with the American handshake, but with the cheek-to-cheek kiss. And so I don't think I remembered anyone's name, because all I was thinking about was what a wonderful first impression I was making as the intern who arrived notably late, rubbing her sweaty face all over everyone that she met. And that was my first lesson. I had to push off the feeling of failure and remind myself that I could not change nor control what had happened that morning. I could only learn from it and make sure that that was not the only way that my colleagues remembered me at the end of the 8 weeks. And as it turns out, I was not the only Stewart Fellow that had an unexpected difficulty that day, or the first day. In fact, a couple of my colleagues who worked for Brenda Grover, a women's rights attorney in New Delhi, India, they also had a couple of struggles. Unlike me, they arrived early to work, 2 hours early, but they somehow ended up with the attorney's home address. So they walked in to find her surprised husband sitting on the couch 2 hours before the workday started. But this experience worked as a great icebreaker, just a moment of human connection, and it's something that they'll be able to share an inside joke with that amazing attorney for the rest of their lives. Of course, these are just stories from the first day on the job. The following days after my metro mishap were filled with incredible experiences. I read complaints in Spanish and compiled memos in English to explain the information to U.S. clients. I worked with associates in the firm to compile explanatory articles for the purposes of educating others, English speakers, and most importantly, I expanded my network on an international scale. And I hesitate sometimes to use the word network because it seems to diminish the relationship that I formed with these people to something strictly business, and that's not been the case. I've been able to stay in contact with a few of my coworkers and with Lawrence Weiner, a partner at the firm. In fact, as I was in the midst of making decisions for this upcoming summer, which opportunity to pursue, I was able to email Lawrence, get his insight and his support. Having successful, experienced attorneys, mentors, and friends to call on in Argentina is just really cool and something that I would not have if it weren't for this program. But the program provided even more than those direct experiences. It's given me something to include on my resume that sets me apart from others. I had several interviews in the past few months, and nearly all of them asked about my experience at WSC in Argentina. It was a wonderfully easy topic for me to discuss, and I was able to talk up IU Mauer as I explained the unique program that we have. In all, there were 23 fellows last summer in a number of countries, and we all had varying experiences. But all of our experiences had one thing in common, and that is it allowed us to walk into this school year with a unique experience under our belt and global legal knowledge that sets us apart from the students in the building and also from law students all over the country. No one would expect that a landlocked school in the Midwest would have such a global reach, and I want to thank you, Milt and Judi, for making this possible on behalf of all previous fellows and all fellows to come. We cannot thank you enough.
Well, thanks, Dean Ochoa and Kylie. Professor Krishnan, we're going to have to work on that orientation on where to go on the students. I now have the privilege of introducing the 18th president of Indiana University, President Michael Mcrobbie. President Mcrobbie has refocused Indiana University around 6 principles of excellence: an excellent education, world-class research and scholarship, an outstanding faculty, enhanced international engagement, excellent in health sciences, and engagement overall. No one has done more than President Mcrobbie in many ways to advance the law school's focus on globalization and international programming for our students, whether through supporting our faculty's research or the developments of our programs to help prepare our students as lawyers in today's global society. We're very delighted that he's able to join us today at this important event. President Mcrobbie.
Thanks very much, Austin. I have to start by noting that, of course, Lauren was the previous dean and is now provost and executive vice president. Fred Kate is now the vice president for research, another faculty member in the school. And I don't know if John's here. John Applegate is John. John Applegate is here as well. John's executive vice president of the university and the vice president and responsible for academic affairs in the university. So you sort of get the idea that the university is being run by the Mao School with some help from me occasionally. It may be unprecedented to the history of the university, where 3 senior executives in the institution are all from the same school at the same time, but I think it is in turn a comment on the quality of the school that we've called a number of times for senior executives of the institution who've done a fabulous job as well. We have a member of the Board of Trustees of Indiana University with us this afternoon, who is also an alumnus of the Mao School, and that's where's Harry? I saw a minute ago. Harry Gonzo here too. And as a tradition, maybe you could just join me in welcoming Harry to the meeting tonight. Well, Laurie and I are very pleased to be here today to celebrate the remarkable generosity of Milton and Judi Stewart and their extraordinary generous bequest of $7.7 million to endow the centre and a professorship will clearly have, I think you've heard it from the other speakers, a major and enduring impact on the centre, on its faculty, and on countless students as well. And as we gather to name the centre formally today, to name it the Milton Judi Stewart Centre on the Global Legal Profession, and to express our deepest thanks to both Milton and to Judi, we also celebrate the spirit of generosity and of dedicated support that has helped make the American system of higher education the very best in the world. The same spirit has left an indelible mark on Indiana University and on the Mao School of Law. In recent years, generous gifts from the Lilly Endowment, from Mickey and Janie Maurer, from Lowell Bear, and from many others, of course, including Milton and Judi, have helped the school to not only attract but also to retain outstanding teachers and scholars, and to strengthen its reputation as one of the finest public law schools or law schools at a public university in the country. Through their generous gifts and through their service, Milt and Judi have supported the Centre on the Global Legal Profession in its missions to conduct research that leads to new knowledge and understanding of the international legal profession, as you heard so well described before, to build partnerships with leading law schools around the world, and I've actually been president of some of those meetings over the last 10 years, and particularly to provide Mao students with vital opportunities for immersive, hands-on learning about the law in other countries. Indiana University has long recognised the benefit to students and to the nation of study and service abroad. The impact of globalisation is ubiquitous and is unlikely to change short of some major economic collapse or some other catastrophic event. As our governor said just recently, there is no turning back. And in an increasingly global society, IU students and graduates must be prepared for all that the world has in store. Business, research, education, politics, and law will require ever greater cooperation and collaboration among peoples of different races, different cultures, different religions, and different social backgrounds. Thus, increasing the number of IU undergraduates who study abroad has been now for 10 years one of my top priorities as president of IU. And it really is extremely gratifying to see what has been now over the last 10 years over 50% increase in the number of students who study abroad annually. And now more than a third of IU Bloomington undergraduates study abroad by the time they graduate, ranking this campus 10th in the nation out of 1,200 universities that are ranked. And this, of course, as a number for a small liberal arts institution would be impressive, but for a huge public university like us with a graduating class approaching 8,000, it really is a remarkable figure and one that we should all be extremely pleased at and very proud of. And as students gain international experience through service and study abroad, they become familiar with places and people that may become part of their careers in all kinds of ways. They also bring home essential knowledge, a better understanding of other cultures and of global affairs, and new perspectives that can have and bring profoundly positive impacts here in the United States. And the same is true for legal students who benefit enormously from opportunities to work with clients and colleagues abroad through supervised externship programs. These opportunities allow them to make connections between their classwork and real-world situations, to develop a critical understanding of today's global multicultural legal world, and to gain insights into how the law works in practice in other countries. As you've heard today, the Stewart Fellows Global Externship Program has allowed more than 120 Mao students to benefit from experiences like these. So I want to again express on behalf of Indiana University how deeply grateful we are to Milt and to Judi for their support of IU, their support of the Mao School, and of course the Centre on the Global Legal Profession. I've actually been with Milt and Judi a good chunk of the last week, actually, in various capacities, and Laurie and I know in particular how intimately and deeply both of them are involved. And of course, this is just one of their involvements throughout the university. There are many, many others as well. But this, I think, in many ways kind of exemplifies some of the things that are most important to both of them as well. To both of you, your generosity will clearly touch the lives of countless students, faculty and staff. It will allow law students to gain vitally important international experience and understanding. It will help the Centre to continue to excel in its important missions, and it will help the university to continue to thrive as we enter our third century of service to the world. And for all this, the Indiana University community is truly grateful. And so now we come to a central moment in this afternoon's event, and I invite Dean Parrish to come forward to unveil a plaque to officially mark the naming of the Milt and Judi Stewart Centre on the Global Legal Profession. And that makes it official. So we'll hear from Milt in just a moment, but first it's my pleasure too to say just a few words about Milt and Judi personally as well. Milt earned his undergraduate degree at IU, as you've heard, in government, and then earned his JD from, of course, what is now the Mao School of Law. He went on to have an enormously distinguished career as a corporate attorney, retiring in 2014 as a senior partner in Davis Wright Tremaine in Portland, Oregon. His highly successful practice focusing on structuring merger and acquisition transactions, reorganizations, and management buyouts was renowned and highly regarded by his colleagues. He has also written many books and articles on mergers and acquisitions and acquisition law and trends as well. He was named a super lawyer by his peers in 2006, and in 2007 he spent a year in New York City serving as a special counsel to the AIG Corporation. He has also served on many for-profit and non-profit boards, including the National Advisory Council of the Multiple Sclerosis Society. And Milt and Judi have both been deeply committed to serving Indiana University in the Maurer School of Law, as I've indicated, not only as benefactors, but also through service that places them really among some of the greatest ambassadors for IU and for the school. Milt serves as Vice Chair of the IU Foundation Board of Directors, and he's also served on the Maurer School's Board of Visitors. And Judi, who is an accomplished artist, became an active member of the advisory board of what is now IU's Eskenazi Museum of Art in 2000. Milt joined her on the board just a few years later, and they've both been very influential in as regards the Eskenazi, the director of the Eskenazis here today as well. And they've also made a very generous planned gift to the Eskenazi as well. And Milt and Judi have both made gifts to the Colloquium for Women of Indiana University that will help IU encourage women to stay involved in the life of the university and to support it philanthropically. Many of you are undoubtedly aware of what's called Stewart's Hideaway, which is a small oasis and seating area that Milt and Judi made possible in Dunn's Woods, just behind Bear Hall here. And it's become a very popular spot on campus. Whenever you walk by there are always people sitting in there as well. It's become a very popular spot for people to connect with and take moments of peace and reflection on this very busy campus. So now I'd like to invite you to turn your attention to the screen for a video about Milt Stewart.
My name is Milt Stewart. I'm a retired lawyer from Portland, Oregon. I have 2 degrees from Indiana University, and as I often say, because of Indiana University, I am the American dream. I was a poor kid. This is emotional for me. I grew up in an abandoned Air Force barracks. I then lived in a rooming house. Those are the first 10 years of my life. No one in my family had ever gone to college. There was very, very, very little hope that I could do so. I came down to the Little 500 with a friend, fell in love with the campus, met a guy named Kurt Simic at the Indiana University Foundation, and ended up being scholarshiped all the way through. I'm one of those lucky few Americans who graduated with 2 degrees with no student debt, and solely because of the generosity of the Indiana University Foundation and the people who had donated money to it for scholarships for students. So Judi and I, my wife, have always had a huge need to give back. I always say you get back a lot more than you give. Again, interacting with students, interacting with professors, seeing programs that happen because of philanthropy dollars, watching kids have career and life opportunities they never would have dreamed of because of the enrichment programs that philanthropy supports. Because everything I have, everything I've achieved, most of who and what I am, is because I had the privilege of having 7 years of higher education at Indiana University, which enabled me to have a career I never dreamed of in international law. It is literally hard to imagine this university without the philanthropy that has occurred over its lifetime. From multiple buildings to professorships, programs, scholarships, all of those exist in their current form because of philanthropy. And without philanthropy, this university would be a shell of what it is today. And that's why we give.
Milt Stewart, please.
I'm going to pull this handkerchief out because I may need it. First of all, I'd like to thank President Mcrobbie, Provost Robel, and Dean Parrish, without whom this center would have been just a dream and never existed in any form, let alone as it does today. And I want to give special thanks to Bill Henderson, who founded the center in 2009, Jay Krishnan, who's become one of my great friends, Christy Ochoa, who's worked tirelessly for this center, and Leslie Davis and Laura Gose. I'd also like to thank good friends, Harry Gonzo and I've known each other for 53 years, Justice Baker, 54, our friends from Indianapolis and Columbus with whom we vacation, Somervilles and the Hunts, for being here. And most of all, I want to single out Judi. Many people are surprised to learn that she didn't attend Indiana University. But that hasn't in any way interfered with her love for this institution. And this and all of our other gifts and efforts for this university have happened because both of us love Indiana University. She, as the president said, was chair of the Women's Colloquium. She was a founding member of the Women's Philanthropy Council. She's a great addition to the Art Museum Board. And like most couples, what we have is ours. What we give is what we both love. And I give Judi great credit. We are humbled to be honored, in part because we have received so much from this effort. We have watched almost 130 students' lives changed forever. It is amazing to see these students come back. Their confidence, their comfort in new environments, their perspective on the legal industry and their careers. We have had any number of these students change their entire academic focus because they had experienced an aspect of the law that they never thought about or never attracted to, but fell in love with and felt that it should be their calling. We have clearly enhanced recruiting to this school. Today at lunch, we had the 23 students raise their hands if one of the reasons that they came to Mauer was the Stewart Fellows program. Half of them came here in part because it exists. No one else, as Jay said at lunch, in the world has done what we've done. We have practiced the art of the possible, and it's because of the efforts of all of the people that I've mentioned. It's appropriate that we've changed these students' lives because this institution changed mine. It taught me I could do anything I really wanted to do and anywhere I could do it. And we've sort of given that belief back to these students. They know they can be anything they want to be, and they can do it anywhere they want to do it. By the way, we have had the first Stewart Fellows be offered permanent jobs by the firms in which they interned, which is, I think, proof of the value of the effort. I wish Bill Henderson were here, but Judi and I had the pleasure of having dinner with him last night. He's teaching at Northwestern today. But his leadership and enthusiasm in forming this center is astounding in retrospect. Neither he nor I dreamed it would become what it has become, but we are equally proud of what it is now. In 2010, Jay Krishnan, Bill Henderson, and I had this wild thought about sending students to one or two countries for part of a summer to experience the equivalent of practicing law, of applying their learning in these countries. and we set off on a magical 9-day trip to Delhi. We had more fun than 3 adults ought to have. We flew around Delhi with a driver who was willing to deal with the traffic. If any of you have ever ridden in Delhi, you know about which I speak. We saw 4 NGOs, 5 law firms, 3 government offices, and right then and there got absolute yeses for 6 initial Stewart Fellows to have their externships in Delhi. And the great part about that is that it taught us this program had merit, that we could easily persuade law firms, governmental agencies, NGOs, and corporate counsel's offices to take our students on. And it's grown every single year to now 9 jurisdictions. We're adding Nigeria and Poland, and I hope we're going to add next year Mexico and Canada, our 2 nearest neighbors. It is our goal that eventually half or more of the students who attend this law school experience a Stewart Fellowship. And again, if we do it, it will change countless lives, but it will also say loudly and clearly to other law schools, neener, neener, neener. By the way, Jay frequently gets calls from schools like Yale and Harvard and Columbia asking how we've done this, and we just choose not to share. We send our best and brightest. It is a competitive program. We have as many as 60, and I think one year in excess of 60, maybe 90 applicants. We put these kids through hard interviews. We make sure they understand that they will be ambassadors for Mauer, for Indiana University, for the state of Indiana, our nation, and to some extent for Judi and me. And I think the students have taken that seriously, and they've acquitted themselves well. Many of the law firms to which these students go are run by close friends of Judi and me. I was on the board of a group called Lex Mundi, which is 162 international firms that collaborate. And probably a plurality of the firms to which we send students are headed by people that Judi and I knew and traveled with around the world. Almost without exception, we hear from the managing partners of those firms that the Mauer students we send as Stewart Fellows are the best externs they've ever had in the history of their firm. So I am very optimistic about the future. I'm hopeful that our gift will be rocket fuel for this program. I am so thrilled at the staff support, the dean's support, and Michael's support for this program. We love the fact that it's concordant with the university's priorities. By the way, we tend to focus on cities in countries in which Indiana University has very strong relationships. So we try to align strategically with the university's priorities. I often say in my law firm that happiness is at the intersection of passion and opportunity. And for all of you out there, I hope you find what Judi and I have found at that intersection. We think we've done well, and we've done good, and we've had fun. And we know we've changed lives, and we know it's all just begun. And we thank you, Jay, Bill, Dean Parrish, Lauren, and Dr. Mcrobbie for giving us the opportunity. Thanks.
Well, Milt, thank you for those thoughtful remarks. Part of the Stewart's gift was to name the Center on the Global Legal Profession and to support the Stewart Fellows program, the global externship program that we've been talking about. Perhaps the most significant part of the gift was to endow a professorship. And from a dean's perspective, it's one of the few things you can do to recognize some of your most talented faculty that have done amazing things, not only as it relates to particular programs, but as the reputation throughout the nation and throughout the world sort of blossoms as a top researcher. And I can't imagine anybody more appropriate, Milt, to be able to hold this professorship than Judi Krishnan. Professor Krishnan, as you've all heard, has been a major leader as it comes to the vision behind the Center on the Global Legal Profession. But that sort of part of his resume really only scratches the surface. He is not only one of our most well-respected colleagues here in the law school, he is somebody that when I travel among other deans and other schools, he is widely known for the quality of his research, for the depth of his analysis, and frankly, just because he's a nice guy. I have a long resume to read about how Jay joined in 2009 and all that stuff, and the extent of his work. But frankly, I think it would be most appropriate to allow Milt to say a few words about Jay and his impact on this thing, his impact on not only the center, but his working relationship. But let me conclude as a dean, I'm incredibly privileged and proud to be able to announce today that Professor Judi Krishnan is going to hold the Stewart Professorship in Law.
Oh no, he's back. Where do I begin with Jay? He is a class act. He has boundless enthusiasm, energy, integrity, and vision. He loves his students, and they love him. He's one of the finest colleagues I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And I've been around for a while, and there have been more than a few. He's positive, he's persuasive, and he's persistent. And maybe most importantly, he's fun. As I said, our rip-roaring trip through Delhi was one of the great experiences of my life. I'm from Nebraska, and beef is really important in my life. Jay made me a vegetarian in India. And believe it or not, I think I could hew pretty much to that. He is just a joy to work with, and he's easy to like, and his passion for this law school and its students shines through. And that's why I think in India and in the 8 years since, we rarely get turned down. Part of it, of course, is that the program has been successful, but a great deal of it is because Judi Krishnan runs it, and people who meet him are excited, and they want to work with him. So Judi and I could not be more delighted to endow this professorship. To be very candid, this was going to be a bequest gift on our deaths. We, with our accountants, stretched quite a bit this year to endow this professorship while we are alive, have both energy and inclination, and can both watch Jay and work with him as he takes this center to the next level. So Jay, I am proud that you're going to bear our name in this professorship and that you're going to continue in your role. And I know you will make this program great beyond dreams of wonder. Thank you.
Jay, can I invite you to the podium?
Well, let me just begin by saying thank you. I'm humbled more than words can even describe. To hold a professorship after two people who I so respect as colleagues, value as the dearest of friends, and admire as just such tremendous human beings is one of the most moving and meaningful honors of my lifetime. And Milt and Judi, I thank you so much for what you've done, for what you've given to our students, to our center, and to our institution. So I want to spend a few moments talking about this gift and what it means to the different communities here at the law school who are the beneficiaries of the Stewart's generosity. Now, Bill Henderson has already mentioned this, but I too want to say that I remember it was almost 10 years ago, back in late 2008, when Provost Robel, who's then, of course, Dean Robel, when she, Bill, and I met to chat about why we were interested in establishing a center that would focus on how the legal profession has evolved, particularly in markets such as in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And now, if you remember, it was in the mid-2000s that the term BRICS had become a very fashionable acronym that social scientists, policymakers, people in business, and lawyers had been using to describe the economic developments that were taking place in Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And I remember at that time Dean Robel explaining that Indiana law was going to be doing something special in terms of our work on the legal profession. She told me that the Maurer School was committed to creating a center that would focus on how globalization is affecting what lawyers do in the United States and also in these other emerging markets. And then she also mentioned how she wanted to put Bill and me in touch, as Bill mentioned, with an alum who she believed epitomized what it meant to be a global lawyer, a person by the name of Milt Stewart. And Bill and Milt have mentioned this. We went to India, and in the fall of 2009, Bill, Milt, Lauren, and I started to strategize about the different ways our center could really make an impact. And as Provost Robel has mentioned, we really settled on these three goals. First, we wanted the center to produce sound research on the legal profession that would be useful to academics and to the bench, bar, and policymakers, not just in the US, but also for our colleagues in these markets overseas. And one nice way that we knew we could make headway on this front and gain a nice amount of recognition would be to receive research funding, which we were lucky to do, and which allowed us to conduct work in places like India, China, Latin America, and most recently, just this year in Russia. And so our second goal was that we thought it would be important for our center to make sure to collaborate with key scholars in the markets that we were focusing on. And here, too, we were fortunate to find terrific colleagues in cities like Delhi and Beijing, Sao Paulo, Dubai, Lagos, and a host of other thriving markets as well, where we've done some very exciting joint projects, conferences, and a range of co-authored publications. And finally, we were determined that our center had to have this strong student component to it. And we've heard about this. The goal would be to provide students with these opportunities to gain these terrific experiences in the key markets that we knew would be economic hubs over the next several decades. And we've heard about how we just started with 6 students who spent the 2010 summer in Delhi, and who, thanks, I have to say, to Dr. Siraj Kumar and the O.P. Jindal Global University, had a fabulous set of experiences while they were there. And we've grown, and we've talked about this, where we've sent, as Provost Robel, Milt, and Bill have said, some 120-plus students working in multiple countries, doing the most amazing type of legal work we could have imagined. And our students throughout all of this have been the most incredible emissaries for our law school. And to me, again, the unique part of the Stewart Fellows program is really thanks to the generosity of benefactors like Milt and Judi, as well as others, both in the law school world, but beyond, both in the United States and abroad. We've been able to structure these experiences so that our students don't have to incur further financial costs to themselves to participate. And for us, that's been such an important piece of this initiative. So when I think about today's gift from Milt and Judi and what it means for our center, for our institution, and for our students, the beautiful part about this gesture is that it'll allow us to continue to support the work that we're doing, but it also gives us a chance to think about new lines of research inquiry on the legal profession, other new institutional partnerships we may want to develop, and how we can expand the internship program even further. We've heard about what we plan to do this summer, which is to fund upwards of 30 students to serve as interns abroad, which would be our biggest summer class yet. And so that's why this gift is so meaningful for us. And so I'll just close by saying that all the work that we've done over the last 8 years has only been possible because of the people in this building and at this university. I have the great fortune of being the director, but each and every day I know that there's no way that any of our work gets done without the strong backing from our leadership, our faculty colleagues, our staff, and our amazing students. President Mcrobbie and Provost Rebel, I want to thank you both for your unwavering commitment in ensuring that Indiana University is truly a first-class global institution, and for your support of the law school and our center over all these years. To Dean Parrish, Executive Associate Dean Nagy, and former Interim Dean Buxbaum, all of you have been so encouraging towards the work we've done, and I appreciate the faith that you've had in us since we started this journey. My colleagues here at Mauer, to the person, are the best people in the world to work with. From the moment I arrived in Bloomington, you've welcomed and warmly supported me, and I'm grateful, really, for each and every one of you. And as it relates to the center, I just need to specifically thank our center coordinator, Laura Gose, as well as Leslie Davis, Mary Edwards, Carwina Wang, and Bill Henderson, along with my co-supervisors on the internships, Ethan Michelson, Mark Need, and Christiana Ochoa, who in particular has done a great amount of work for us throughout Latin America. And of course, thank you to our inspirational students, who, as I said earlier, make the center as wonderful as it is. And Milton, Judi, let me just once again reiterate our deep gratitude to you. You've done something very special here, and I'm honored that you've placed your trust in us. And I feel privileged beyond words to hold a professorship in your name. And finally, I need to thank my family. My son, he's at a big traveling soccer tournament today, and he's a big IU soccer fan. So, and I'm so unbelievably proud of him. He's only 13 years old, but he's taught me more about kindness and generosity and compassion than anyone I know. And I'm also grateful to my parents, who they came to the U.S. in the late 1960s from Bangalore as immigrants with very little money and knowing no one when they arrived. They worked very hard to make a comfortable life for my sister and me, and they always instilled the importance of education and giving back to their community. And they tried to make where they lived a better place for those around them. They've always carried themselves with humility and dignity. And they've been role models for me in different ways. And while they still hold out hope, even to this day, that I will eventually go to medical school and become a doctor, they did write me a wonderful note this morning saying how lucky I am to be at this great university. I wrote them back immediately and told them how absolutely right they were. So once again, thank you so much. I'm truly grateful.
Well, thank you. That concludes our program. On behalf of the law school, Jay, congratulations on such well-deserved recognition. I can't imagine a better person to go forward holding this title Milton, Judi, thank you for all that you've done for the school, the support of your center, for the support of the center, but the support of our students more broadly. For everybody else, thanks for coming this afternoon. I hope you'll join me upstairs. We have a reception on the 3rd floor where we'll raise a glass to continue the celebration for this nice naming event. Thank you so much for coming. If you spoke, please stay. We need to take photographs. That concludes the event.